Hey, welcome back friends, TechTail here, and today I'm going to be going over 6 tips for slaying. I have personally been going on the 120 Slayer grind, and there's a lot of things that I wish I had known earlier or had started doing closer to level 50, might as well at level 110 where I am right now. So I wanted to share what I have learned in my total grind with you guys, so hopefully it will help somebody out along the line to train up your Slayer skill. Let's start out with a pretty obvious one. You're going to want to use VIP Slayer tickets for every single task that you do, bar none. Don't ever do a Slayer task unless you have VIP Slayer tickets. Now, I know it is really annoying to play Face Punch Bonanza every once in a while. I personally want to punch myself in the face while I'm playing it. But it is very important to have them. It essentially gives you better Slayer tasks because you have a choice between two. You can view it as a ban on your least favorite task that you don't have banned, or you could say that you're getting double the amount of your favorite task. However you justify it to yourself, play the Cabbage Face Punch Bonanza and get these Slayer VIP tickets for every single task that you do. It is that important. Next up is a quest. You are going to want to complete Smoking Kills quest as soon as you possibly can. If you are still a low level Slayer, you don't have option to complete it until you're a level 35 Slayer. But as soon as you hit level 35 Slayer, you're going to want to get 25 crafting as well so that you can complete the Smoking Kills quest. If you are already up to 35 Slayer, or if you have gotten past there without doing it, do the quest right now. It gives you double the amount of Slayer points that you would otherwise get, which unlock some pretty insane abilities like being able to put a Bone Crusher onto your tool belt. Slayer points are very important, so you're going to want to complete the Smoking Kills quest as soon as you possibly can. Tip number 3 is to properly gear. Now, I could go over an entire video, or a lot of people actually do 3 over proper gearing, but just a quick synopsis. You are going to want to use the best weapon that you possibly can and a relatively good set of armor. If you are leveling and you're a low level Slayer, go ahead and just use whatever the best is that you can. Once you are getting into the higher levels and you have more options available to you, you are going to want a tier 80 weapon as the very minimum. I understand that a lot of people don't like to pay the recharge cost on these weapons, but the higher tiered weapons are so worth it. You should definitely be using the higher tier weapons. Also, you're going to want a minimum of tier 70 power armor. Tier 70 power armor is not degradable, so you don't have to worry about that. I would recommend upgrading to tier 80 whenever you have enough money, but tier 70 is the base level you should definitely be having. I personally also recommend having a preset for all 3 of the different combat styles. That way you don't have to waste hours of time in between tasks whenever you have to switch from mage to range, or you just choose to have one setup for all 3 of them. It's usually not the best setup in the world, something like using hybrid armor. You're going to want to not use the hybrid armor, instead have a preset for all 3. It only takes like 30 seconds to actually bank if you are doing it properly with presets, so make sure you set up your presets, make sure you gear properly, and make sure you get the maximum Slayer experience you possibly can. The next tip is also a little bit about gearing, but it's for you higher level Slayers out there. You are going to want to use Invention for all of your slaying needs. The Invention perks for Slayer are so cheap that you should be equipping a body and leg piece that is augmented and putting Genocidal, as well as if you're doing a Dragon test, putting Dragon Slayer on there, or any of the Slayer perks for Undead or Demons as well. These will give you up to 14% increase your DPS, which is absolutely insane. I can't think of a single thing that gives you that big of an increase, minus Invention, of course. So if you are doing Slayer, make sure you throw Genocidal on your gear. I could go over a whole video on just Invention perks for Slayer as well, but I will leave that to Junesong. I'll leave you a link down in the description down below if you want to see his Invention Slayer perk video. Number 5 may again be obvious, but you are going to want to use the best Slayer Master that you possibly can. A lot of the Slayer Master increases whenever you go up to the next tier Slayer Master actually gets rid of a lot of the really junk low level Slayer creatures from the previous Slayer Master. Now, this doesn't seem super important, but when you start getting a lot of harpy bug swarms or other things like that, it severely slows down your experience per hour and also makes it so that you can't make any money while you are training up Slayer, both of which are very important to almost everybody slaying. So make sure you're upgrading. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit longer of a run or it's a little bit more inconvenient to get to that Slayer Master. Every single extra higher level Slayer Master is worth getting to. And last but not least is to make sure you make a lot of money while you're doing Slayer. Since we are using VIP Slayer tickets, we can actually choose which task that we want between two of them. And you're going to want to take that into consideration when you are choosing tasks. A lot of these tasks, when you get into the higher levels, can actually make you 10 to 15 million GP per hour, which is absolutely insane. And on top of that, they are not farmable from a regular perspective. They are only this good on a Slayer task. So make sure you're actually looking to see how much money you can be making from these tasks. A lot of people just blindly go with people that say, okay, so this task is going to be faster than this task marginally, so we're going to want to do the slightly faster task. That's not always your best bet. You're going to want to take into consideration how much money per hour you can make. If you can do Telos, obviously go ahead and do whatever the fastest Slayer experience per hour is, and then go do Telos with your extra time. But since the majority of us are commoners that are only able to get 5 to 10 million GP per hour, or possibly less if you're a low-level player, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking into consideration how much money per hour you could actually make with that time that you save, and how much money you would be making on these Slayer tasks. Because it may be more efficient to go for a slightly slower Slayer task and make some insane GP while you're doing it. Hopefully at least one of those tips was useful for you guys. If it was, hit that like button down below. Also, if you have anything else to add to this conversation, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see any of my future updates, and as always, have a good one.